The movie begins with Theo standing on a crowded street in London. As he stops to fix his coffee, an explosion occurs a few buildings away, causing chaos and panic. Theo passes through a checkpoint at his office in the Ministry of Energy, where everyone is upset about the death of Diego Ricardo, the youngest person alive. Diego was 18 and the last child born before the global infertility pandemic. Theo, affected by the news, asks his boss if he can work from home. On a train ride, Theo sees a broadcast showing destruction around the world, with the message, "The world has collapsed, and only Britain soldiers on." People outside throw rocks at the train. After getting off, Theo passes a group of refugees confined behind a fence with armed guards. Jasper, Theo's friend and drug dealer, meets him at the station, and they drive to Jasper's secluded house. They discuss the bombing, with Theo suspecting terrorists and Jasper blaming the government. As they drive, they pass a bus full of refugees being taken to a camp. At Jasper's house, they talk about Theo's love life, and we learn that Jasper's wife, Janice, is catatonic after being tortured for her work as a photojournalist. Jasper and Theo care for her before sitting down to discuss Jasper's weed dealing, mostly done at the Bexhill camp. Jasper jokes about the human project, but Theo dismisses it. The next day, Theo is walking through London when he is suddenly kidnapped by a group called the Fishes, who fight for refugee rights. What a strange name to choose. Their leader is Julian, Theo's ex-wife. She explains they need Theo's help to get transit papers for a refugee girl. She offers him money, but Theo refuses, saying it's too dangerous. The Fishes blindfold him and take him away, but Luke, one of their members, gives Theo contact information in case he changes his mind. The next scene shows Theo as a passenger in a car driving through London, passing famous landmarks surrounded by fear, panic, and protests. He arrives at a high-security building and meets his wealthy cousin Nigel, who lives in an old art museum filled with priceless works. During dinner, Theo fabricates a story about needing transit papers for his fake girlfriend's terminally ill brother. It's unclear if Nigel agrees, but the next scene cuts to Theo telling Luke in a bar that he could only get papers for 2 people, meaning he must accompany the refugee girl. The bar is at a dog race, and Theo wins money on a bet. Theo rushes to meet Julian on a bus, giving her the papers. They discuss their past, particularly the death of their son Dylan, who died young from a flu pandemic. Julian admits she never got over it but has learned to live with the pain. They argue but reconcile with a kiss. They then join Luke, who drives them to a checkpoint. In the car, Theo meets Miriam, a middle-aged woman, and Key, a young African refugee. Theo asks about Key's situation, but no one gives details. Julian and Theo reminisce about when he was passionate about politics. Suddenly, their car is ambushed by an army of refugees after a flaming vehicle blocks the road. Julian is shot through the windshield and dies, with Miriam attempting to bless her. As they try to flee, they are stopped by police, but Luke shoots the officers, and they escape. They bury Julian in the woods, with Theo mourning her loss. The group arrives at a Fishes safe house where a leadership vote is being held. Key reveals to Theo in private that she is pregnant, a shocking revelation given the global infertility crisis. Key asks for Theo's help, terrified of what lies ahead. A news report announces Julian's death, labeling her a terrorist. The Fishes debate whether Key should go to the Human Project's boat, the Tomorrow, or stay and let her baby be used as a political symbol. Key decides to stay, but Theo overhears Luke confessing that he arranged Julian's murder to take control of the Fishes and use Key's baby for their cause. Theo warns Key and Miriam, and they decide to escape. They sneak out at dawn, steal a car, and narrowly escape the Fishes, who are reluctant to shoot because Key is in the car. They flee to Jasper's house for safety. When Theo enters Jasper's house, he fears the worst, thinking Jasper and Janice might be dead. But they're just motionless because they've been doing drugs. They all sit down for a meal, and Miriam explains that the Tomorrow is a hospital ship disguised as a fishing boat, set to meet them in 2 days at Bexhill. It will take them to the Human Project's headquarters in the Azores. During the meal, Theo asks Key about her baby's father. Key jokes that she's a virgin before laughing and admitting she doesn't know who the father is. She shares that at first she was unsure about her pregnancy, having never seen or talked about pregnant women. But everything changed when she felt the baby kick, and she knew it was alive, making her feel alive too. As she talks, she braids Janice's hair. Jasper comes up with a plan to get them into Bexhill. They'll get themselves arrested by a border guard who Jasper sells drugs to, and who has agreed to sneak them into the refugee camp. Later, Theo pours himself a drink and overhears a conversation where Key spots a photograph of Julian, Theo, and their baby. Jasper talks about how wonderful Dylan, their baby, was, and how his death from the flu pandemic devastated Theo, leading him to lose faith in the future. In the middle of the night, Jasper's alarm goes off as they spot the fishes breaking in to find them. Theo, Miriam, and Key prepare to leave, but Jasper stays behind, claiming he needs to stall the fishes. He instructs Theo to tell Sid, the border guard, that he is a fascist pig, a code phrase. Theo, Miriam, and Key drive off while Jasper and Janice prepare for the worst. There's a touching moment where Jasper reaches out to touch Janice's face as she sits motionless. Theo and Miriam park on a hill overlooking the house and watch as the fishes arrive. They search the house and find evidence that Theo and his group are heading to Bexhill. When Jasper refuses to give them more information, they shoot and kill him. Theo watches in agony from the hill, lashing out at Miriam when she apologizes, reminding him it's for the greater good. They drive to an abandoned school with walls covered in old children's paintings. The empty hallways are eerie, with a deer roaming through, knocking things over. Theo and Miriam sit in a deserted classroom while Key swings on a swing outside. Miriam tells Theo about her life before the infertility crisis, how she was a midwife and how all her patients began miscarrying. As pregnancies ceased, her work stopped, and she reflects on the strangeness of a world without children's voices. She says, "I was there at the end," and Theo reassures her that she'll now be there at the beginning. A siren blares outside, and an officer appears. Hoping it's Sid, Theo follows Jasper's instructions and calls him a fascist pig. The officer pretends to strike Theo before laughing and revealing himself as Sid, speaking in third person. Sid then drives them toward Bexhill. While in the car, Key starts having severe contractions. They don't reveal her pregnancy to Sid, saying instead that she's sick. Upon arriving at Bexhill, Sid tells them he doesn't want to know their reasons for entering the prison. He instructs them to find a woman named Marichka inside the facility, who will provide them with a place to stay. Sid then pretends to arrest them, ordering them to get on a bus with the other refugees. They are set to meet the Tomorrow at sunset the following day. On the bus, Miriam explains that meeting the Tomorrow is crucial because the only way to contact the Human Project is through mirrors, or messages passed from person to person until they reach Julian, the fish's mirror. They've never directly spoken to the Human Project. Key's contractions worsen, drawing attention, but no one understands what's happening. Key realizes her water has broken and that the baby is coming soon. At the Bexhill facility, officers board the bus to interrogate the refugees. When one officer questions Key, Miriam tries to distract him by pretending to be insane but is taken away. Theo pretends to speak little English and claims Key has soiled herself. The ruse works, and they're not removed from the bus, though Miriam is bagged and presumably tortured. The officers escort Key and Theo into the camp, a grimy, overcrowded area. They find Marichka, who takes them to a dirty apartment. Key struggles up the stairs, clearly in labor. They keep her condition hidden from Marichka as she shows them to a room with a mattress and leaves with her dog. Theo helps Key with the delivery using his jacket to keep things clean. Key eventually gives birth to a healthy baby girl. They are overjoyed and don't immediately cut the umbilical cord, laughing in delight. The next morning, Key sleeps with her baby. There's a knock on the door, and Sid and Marichka appear. They try to hide the baby as Sid reveals that war has erupted between the British Army and the refugees, including the fishes, and that Bexhill is about to be destroyed. Sid wants to take them to safety, but notices Key with the baby and demands to see. Both he and Marichka are shocked. Marichka tries to protest in her language, saying she doesn't want to go with Sid because he's bad. Sid forces them out at gunpoint, revealing he plans to turn them in for the bounty on their heads. A fight breaks out with Sid firing his gun. Marichka knocks Sid out with a hammer and helps Theo, Key, and the baby escape, amidst the chaos of the refugee uprising against the British Army. The refugee army in Bexhill chants Allahu Akbar as they march. Marichka guides Key and Theo through the chaos to an apartment. A man, presumably Marichka's friend, lets them in once he sees Key's baby. The apartment is relatively lavish compared to the rest of Bexhill. Key and her baby rest on a bed while an elderly woman sings a lullaby. Key jokingly suggests naming the baby Bazooka. After resting, Key and Theo head back into the fray with Key hidden in a wheelchair. The battle between the Fugees and the British Army rages on. Marichka and another ally try to get them to the sea, but they're ambushed by fishes. Luke spots Key and tells her she's safe now, but she spits at him. Luke declares that the uprising will only strengthen once the rebel Fugees see the baby and be inspired. He then takes Key, leaving Theo, Marichka, and the other man at gunpoint. One of the fishes kills their ally, but during the ensuing gunfight, Theo and Marichka manage to escape. Theo searches for Key and finds her in an apartment building, where Luke reveals his disillusionment with Julian's hope for peace. Distracted by gunfire, Luke gives Theo the chance to flee with Key. An explosion kills Luke, and Theo and Key escape the building amidst the awe and silence created by the baby's cries. The British Army ceases fire, allowing them to leave, but the peace is short-lived as a bomb prompts renewed conflict. Marichka leads them to a hidden rowboat. She insists on staying behind as they board the boat in an underground pipe adorned with drawings. Theo rows them towards the buoy where they'll meet the Tomorrow. Key worries they're too late, but Theo reassures her. As fighter jets drop bombs on Bexhill, Theo reveals he's been shot and is dying. He advises Key on how to comfort the baby before slipping away, leaving Key devastated. A boat appears on the horizon. It's the Tomorrow. Key sings to her baby, telling her they are safe now. The final scene shows the small rowboat waiting for the Tomorrow, with the movie ending on a black screen reading "Children of Men," accompanied by the sounds of children laughing and squealing. To continue your binge, I recommend watching the recaps on the right next. Drop a like and subscribe for future videos. I upload every other day. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon, my friend.